Almost. Almost. And Tobias will be with us from New York. So he rose early this morning in order to be able to participate and tell us a bit more about stuff that he does. Crazy shit stuff. And here's Tobias Pegg. Tobias, are you here with us?
I'm here, good morning.
Oh God, we can see you as well. Now you can see me on stage. I will I will turn the computer around because then you know some chords will pop out and you will have no picture of you on the big screen. You're very big sized right now. You're massive, an enormous entrepreneur, and you can see Rozaline here as well.
Hello.
Waving to you.
Hi Rozaline, very nice to meet you.
Okay, super cool. This is named bonkers, silly, crazy science stuff that you need to know about. And I think it's so interesting when it comes to food that everyone who works with food and have worked with food for a long time think they know shit about food. And we're here to prove that you don't. Eric did his fair share in the last session, and now let's move over to the next level of craziness. Tobias, you brought some slides for us, didn't you?
Yeah, I can show those up now, although it says that you need to enable sharing.
We need to enable sharing. I see tech staff running ferociously towards the stage in order to fix this.
I don't know if you've got the ability to move the slides forward, but...
Let's see here.
Should be good.
Should be good.
Yeah, that's exciting. So you should be able to see this now, right?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, so yeah, very quick. I mean, thank you for having me here to start with, and I know we're short of time, so I'll jump straight in. So what we're doing at Square Roots is growing plants in the dark. So why are we doing that? You know, I think most people in the room probably understand the benefits of indoor farming. The fact that you've got controlled climates which allow you to guarantee yields all year round, and you can locate those farms close to end consumers, and you can grow with zero pesticides, and all of these value propositions that we love. But the one we never talk about is the energy needs of indoor farming. You know, these beautiful lights in my indoor farm look very pretty, but I also see dollar signs just flying out of those windows. And you know, what we're really trying to do is figure out how to get all the benefits of indoor farming with significantly reduced energy needs. And a big chunk of the energy obviously comes from lighting, so we're trying to remove the light from these indoor farms. And the long-term aim here is to make controlled environment agriculture much more viable for low and middle income countries, which is quite frankly where the technology is most at need, given those regions are the ones that are going to face outsized risk due to climate change. So I'm not going to get too much into the science here, but essentially we're growing gene-edited plants, CRISPR-edited plants, and what they're able to do is they can uptake, or they can add biomass by uptaking carbon through their root system rather than creating carbon through photosynthesis under light. So what we're really doing is feeding these plants a consistent source of carbon. We use something called acetate, which is a vinegar-like substance that can be produced very sustainably. The underlying science here was developed by Robert Jinkerson, who's a specialist in artificial photosynthesis at UC Davis, and Dr. Feng Zhao, who's a chemist at Delaware University. They've run lab-scale experiments sustainably producing acetate, growing plants in the dark in petri dishes in the lab, and now they're working with Square Roots to prove that at production scale and to understand the 101 other things that happen to a commercial scale indoor farm before that would be rolled out across the world. I put a link there to a fantastic article in Science if people want to dig in and get into the science. So just quickly then, the crops that we're growing, we're starting with Arabidopsis. This is not a plant that you would probably want to eat. It's a very, very, very bitter green, but it's often used as what they call the model plant in these scientific experiments. It's very easy to gene edit, it's very quick to grow, so we're able to learn a lot about what happens to the system when you're growing plants heterotrophically or in the dark. The second phase then is lettuce. Obviously a lot of indoor farms grow lettuce, so we've got a lot of benchmark data around this, and we can also look at benchmark data from field farming. and therefore be able to quantify, okay, what are the energy needs when you grow these plants heterotrophically versus in a quote-unquote normal indoor farm under light, and then versus the field. What's really cool in phase 3, we've just started seeding this actually, is a so-called space tomatoes. So you can see here, these have been edited not only for heterotrophic growth to uptake carbon through the roots, but also they've been edited to produce much more fruit and less vine. So it's a very efficient plant in terms of edible biomass for the inputs that we're giving the system. And obviously, you know, tomato is 15% of global vegetable production. You know, this starts to get us into sort of towards staple crops. But when we start to think about staple crops, this is future phases. So we're hoping that we'll be tackling potatoes and cassava in this process as well. And if you can get there, you can bring all the benefits of indoor farming at a much lower cost, at a much lower carbon footprint, and also be able to produce these staple crops sustainably all year round. So that's what we're up to at Square Roots.
My God. So suddenly we can grow food without the sunlight. And did you ever see that one coming? No, you didn't. You didn't see that one coming. I think this is so super interesting, and it proves that when science gets deep into what food is, how it can be manufactured, nothing what you think is true anymore. Or what would you say, Rozaline?
Well, I think that's very interesting. There are so many potentials in the agriculture that we still don't know about. But
no, but I mean, like, isn't this kind of bonkers? I mean, you see, this is not just space stuff, it's actually happening here. So, Matt, when will you start to grow and sell these things at scale?
Yeah, I think likely the next 14 months is still very much the experimental phase. So we're you know, several stages into Arabidopsis, lettuces. We've just started seeding tomatoes. So I think there's a way to go. The first step is to quantifiably prove that this type of growing uses less energy, to understand what other implications are there in an indoor farming system. You know, if you're feeding acetate, a carbon source, through the irrigation system in an indoor farm, you can expect algae blooms and all sorts of other things to happen, right? So we've got to learn about, okay, well, how does an indoor farming system design need to change to accommodate this? And then also we have to, you know, determine that the food that is produced here is not just more sustainable, lower cost, lower carbon footprint, but it's actually tasty and people want to eat it. You know, at the end of the day, that's still what we're trying to do. And if, you know, if the food isn't, you know, better quality for the lower cost, then a lot of people, certainly in the developed economies, are not really going to want to care about it. So we have you know, a fair bit of scientific experimentation to do before we think about bringing this to market. But that's definitely, you know, the game plan here is really for us to put together a blueprint for these low cost, low carbon farms, particularly with an eye to how this technology can be more applicable in low and middle income countries.
This is okay, but still, you talk about 14 months. I can remember the day when we spoke about lab-grown meat, for instance, and that was seen as science fiction, never going to happen. Now it's in the market. This is the same, right? Science fiction, never going to happen. In 14 months it will be in the market. And you will look back upon the old way of producing things as, yeah, didn't we know more back then? But at least now we know more. Rozaline, let's move over to you. Did you get the clicker?
no.
No, here comes the clicker, because you also have a couple of slides. I'll leave it to you now. Tobias, we will close you down on the main screen now. So you will remain with us.
Okay.
Perfect. So, Rozaline, take it from here. What are you doing?
Yeah, I electrocute plants to make them grow faster. So basically, we use a natural phenomenon that is always present in the nature through all the seasons, and that's the Earth's magnetic field that is influenced by the location of sun during different seasons that triggers plants' growth hormones. And we've been able to test this on different kind of plants and create the pattern of each plant based on their geographical location, the location of their origin and where they're going to be cultivated. So we have done this test on over 30 different kind of crops, and based on our test, not only we can improve the growth of the plant, the speed of growth, but we can also slow down the growth. So apart from that, we increase the yield, so the dimension of the plant is larger, and it is not like it's only water that is growing the cells. We created more cells, more tastier and higher quality. As you can see in the flowers, you can see denser colors. We have tested this on potatoes, and we know that we can create a very good quality of crops by this technology. And basically we use electromagnets, like very thin mats on the tables. It can be used for greenhouses, it could be used for vertical farms, or for storage of the harvested plants to elongate, to have a longer time of high quality preservation. And this is
that's basically, I think this is also crazy shit, right? Because those electromagnetic whatever it is, I'm an economist, I don't know what this is. They don't use much.
No, not electricity. Very, very little amount of electricity. So we can, if you compare it to the grow lights, it's 100 times more efficient than the grow lights.
Could you flip forward to the one with the saffron on it? Okay, so the saffron petals up there in the right-hand corner. I estimate now, I guesstimate. I'm a guy, so I'm allowed, right? Twice the size. The world's most expensive spice. 10,000 US a kilo. And the electrical input was?
It's very low.
It's like it won't even, notice on your meter. These types of things that Eric just showed you, that Tobias has showed you, that Rozaline has showed you, proves beyond any doubt that the future of food production is going more scientific, more into understanding the basics of plants, what drives them, what generates the nutrition that we ultimately want to have. And unless we understand this deep science, we will not be able to make the strategic decisions regarding investing in our futures. Every year at the Big Meet, we've tried to give you more and more insights into the magics of science in the world of food. But I think we actually broke it this year. This is better than we ever shown you before. This is more systemically amazing. Tobias, you've been involved in growing things indoors for years and years and years. How would you compare growing plants without light to the previous scientific breakthroughs you've seen?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. It almost felt to me like indoor farming had reached I'm not going to say a plateau of innovation. I don't mean to be sort of disrespectful, right? There are a lot of very smart people in the industry that are constantly trying to figure out how to bring down the cost, right, through automation or incrementally increasing yields or whatever it is. But when we thought about tackling this project, it was kind of obvious to us that unless the industry made a fundamental step-changing, decision to tackle some deep science and absolutely bring costs down through removing, a significant amount of energy, then all of the promise of indoor farming was to use an agriculture analogy, was going to wither on the vine because the cost was just too damn high. And so going back to first principles, going back to science, as you've said, especially with a view, with this project, again, the idea is to bring this very needed technology to lower middle income countries who are going to have horrible impact due to climate change on their local agricultural systems. So what I love about this project is there's a lot of very cool science going on, but it's really driven towards a very, very, very important mission, and that really galvanizes a lot of people from around the table with very different perspectives and experiences to try and come together and make this happen.
I think you're absolutely right. Rozaline, let's get back to you for a while. We see the size of the plants and the yields. The reduction of electricity usage, for instance, you measure that as well, I guess.
We have made some estimations, but we are going to do it in a larger scale soon in Netherlands at the University of Wageningen. But our estimation is approximately 20% because we still need some light to grow. But the amount of light and temperature that we need for growing the plants is way lower than normal.
And of course, you see the yield, and you said it's not just growing cells or filling them with water, which is the normal way of growing plants, right? It's more cells, it's more flavonoids, it's more nutrition in these plants. Are there specific plants that have reacted extra beneficially to the electromagnetic fields, or?
All the plants that we have tested, we'll normally let our investors come and taste them, or our visitors. And that we have done a biochemical test at the Leiden University on basil, and as we saw, we had higher nutrients, higher content of sugar, and more terpenoids, and better smell, better taste of our test group than compared to the control group.
So wonderful, and I mean, electromagnet, it's not expensive. And the magnets are not these are not superconductor stuff that under maglev trains or anything like that.
No, they're quite safe, and they're very low bore, so it doesn't influence humans, but it does influence the plants. They can sense it with their sensors.
So it's a relatively inexpensive technology, especially if you scale it, right?
Yeah.
Tobias, is this acetate stuff, is that expensive?
No, and there's a parallel project that is going on that is actually funded jointly by the Novo Nordisk Foundation and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, I believe, to explore sustainable acetate production at huge scale. And when you have organizations like that, driving the agenda and frankly putting up the dollars, then you also know that the objective and the goals of that program are to get super low cost, super sustainable end product. So we're very, very interested to watch the development of that project, and fundamentally believe that will be a low cost input into future indoor farming designs.
This is lovely. Okay, we've run out of time now. But thank you so much, Tobias and Rozaline, for coming here and sharing the future of food through science. A big round of applause.